Hi folks, welcome to another episode of NYC CNC. It's Monday morning and I'm super excited because the first thing I have to do this morning is put away a bunch of stuff I bought at an auction this weekend. And it occurred to me, one of the most common questions I get from folks has to do with how to start, what to buy, where to buy it, what do I need to do, how to get my hands dirty. And when I was in New York, for no real reason, I just never got tapped into going to auctions or trying to find out what was going on in that scene. And I was busy and I didn't have a ton of space, so I don't think I had that sort of mindset. But boy, now that I'm back in Ohio and I went to my first auction since I've been back, I thought I got to share this message because holy smokes, folks, there are huge opportunities here. It is a much less efficient market, in my opinion, than a place like eBay. It's also a lot more hit or miss. You may spend a lot of time or drive a distance and not find as much as you'd like, but boy, from what I'm hearing from other folks and from what I saw this weekend, this was incredible. So thought what I would do is show off a little bit about what I did find because I'm excited to share that. But rather than just show that off, I thought what I'd also do is talk a little bit about some of my tips if you do go to an auction. And I'm sure I'm going to miss some, and I'm sure other folks are going to have some great tips as well. So if you guys want, throw those tips in the comments below so we can all kind of figure out what are good strategies. The first thing is, don't listen to the auctioneer. Two examples were a plasma machine and a welder. The auctioneer, I don't know if he was fibbing or just stretching the truth, said they found papers about the retail price of these machines new, and they were used, and everybody knew they were used, but that price was not accurate, and it affected people. There were a couple of folks there that were buying on behalf of their businesses. I don't think they were necessarily businesses that they owned. Maybe they were penny wise, pound foolish on thinking, I'm getting a good deal here because they said it's this much new and it looks like it's in good condition. Whew. A brand new $1,500, $1,800 plasma machine sold for over $2,000. That's not a good deal. So don't listen to the auctioneer if he gets up there at the beginning and says, we know this machine is $5,000 brand new and it looks new, and ignore it. When you go and you check it out, try to get a feel for what type of owner you think that was. The auction that I went to this weekend was a guy, he didn't have junk. He kept tools that he used, and it was clear that if he didn't use things, they weren't around anymore. And that was great, because you will go to auctions where you've got hoarders or guys that just want everything, and that may be okay too. And in fact, it could mean there's so much to sell that there's even more value, or buyers fatigue and they don't stick around because there's a lot to sell. But I like this one because this guy was a user. He made stuff, he used his tools, and that meant he trusted the tools, so it's sort of already been vetted. There weren't broken things laying around. There weren't bad measurement tools or indicators, that kind of stuff. If you're finding good deals, I say buy. Even if it means you're going home with more than you planned on coming home with, if the deals are right or there's not other buyers there to bid you up, buy. Seriously, folks, there were some deals this weekend that I'll show you that I didn't really plan to buy, but for $5 or $10, you can't say no. On the flip side, don't acquire junk. I'm a big believer that if you're never going to use it, or you think you want to justify having a second or a third of something, or it's worth more and you just can't let it sell for too little, I would encourage you to hesitate, because and this comes from a guy who I just try not to put stuff in my shop that's going to collect dust, that's not going to get used, that's not an asset. It's just not. For example, at this auction, a Procunier tapping head came up. Looked like it was in pretty good condition. Didn't have any collets except the one that was in it, but it was a 1/4 inch that was in it. And those usually go on eBay for anywhere from $50 to $150. And no one wanted it at the auction. So he started at 50, then he went down to 25, then the auctioneer went to 10, then 5. And I thought, at $5, oh my gosh, I can just dust this thing off and sell it. And then it went for $1. Seriously, $1. But I'm still kicking myself. Maybe I should have bought it and sold it. But I'm busy, folks. I'm not in the business of making $50 off eBay. I'm in the business of growing and working my business. So as much as it kills me to know that someone got a good deal there, I just was like, you know what? I don't need to be bringing home junk and stuff that's just going to add to my list of things to do. If you are, when you're looking around at the auction, if you see other folks looking at stuff, consider, and this gets a little risky, but consider trying to form alliances. I got lucky. One of the other guys there is a guy I've gotten to know, and I knew when I lived in Ohio 10 years ago. And he has a fabrication shop, and they're trying to get into more machining work. We don't really compete, and it's not like that. It's business is business. He didn't know a lot about what the right stuff was to buy, so I sort of offered him some help. Like, what are you looking for? What do you think is good? Here, this looks good, but it's actually an import, so be careful or don't pay more. And build up some goodwill with each other. And then we saw some tools that we both wanted, and luckily some of them were sets or boxes of stuff. And so rather than bid against each other, we just sort of said, hey, if you get that, I'll take these out of it, and vice versa. And it actually worked out pretty well. We didn't bid against each other, and there was a lot of stuff that we were able to split up. And at the end of the day, he kind of let me win a few. I'll show you a Bridgeport 90-degree head that I was able to buy without bidding against anybody on, and I let him win some. You got to kind of pick your battles there. That also brings up a strategy I really like, which is one of the things we wanted to split was a set of really good insert lathe tools, boring bars, etc. And there was one other machinist at this auction who was a professional machinist. You could just tell by the way he was bidding. The other guys were sort of hobbyists, so their budget was lower because it's for fun for them. This guy knew what was worth money, and he makes money with his tooling, so he was willing to spend more of a market price, if you will. He and my buddy were bidding against each other on this box of tools that we really wanted, and my buddy backed out at a price that I thought there's still a lot of value there. And so this guy thought he had won it. And right before the auctioneer was about to say it, I threw my hand up. And I think that worked because they had been going against each other. And if I'd hopped in the middle of that, even if he wasn't a buddy or an alliance, if you will, it just would have fueled the fire of three people going now, ooh, more. But because I waited, and I think this guy thought he had won because my buddy had backed out. So at the last second, I threw my hat in, and I think, who knows, you'll never know, I think this guy realized, oh man, like someone else knows that there's value here. This isn't going to be cheap, and do I really want to just start bidding up against this guy? And he actually backed out, and I still think it was a very good deal. And I was pretty sure that when I was bidding, and now that I'm home and have gone through the stuff, I'm very sure of that. The last few tips: come prepared. Bring cash and bring a check, especially if there's a discount for cash versus a credit card fee. Bring equipment, whatever you think you might need for rigging or a trailer. I didn't buy the mill, and I kind of wish I had. It was a Grizzly Bridgeport knockoff, and which I kind of want to. I would like to buy a Bridgeport, and I wasn't crazy about buying the Grizzly version, but it was the larger table size. I think it was 10 by 49. Digital readout, and a good one, power feed, some tooling and a vise, variable speed head, 3-phase. I don't remember the horsepower on the motor. I think it was 3, and it went for $2,100. That's cheap, folks. Now, again, it is the Grizzly, so it's Taiwanese, but it was good. It was working. Like I said, the owner used it until he passed, so it wasn't something that just sat around. There was not too much backlash. You can see the machine was in good condition. Why didn't I buy it? Again, the Grizzly thing, I only have room for one Bridgeport, and I kind of want a Bridgeport. And there's plenty of, and that's a good another point, which is there are going to be more auctions. Don't get carried away. Don't buy something if you're not sure and comfortable, because there'll be more. The other thing was I had a really busy weekend. I told my wife we'd go out that night. I had a full day of things to do the next day that I couldn't move around. So I didn't really feel like trying to figure out how I was going to rig this thing up and move it. Yeah, so last little tip would be, again, don't get caught up. Don't even bid too early. There are a number of things I'm going to show you here in a second where I knew I wanted them, and I thought there was going to be some folks bidding against me, and no one did. And so the auctioneer would start pretty high, and they might start at like $50, because maybe that's because they were where they want to end up, and they'll quickly drop it down to like 10. And I almost was inclined to bid at 10, and then before you know it, they drop it to 5. So you just earned yourself $5 if you just be patient. In this auction, in most estate auctions, it's a market price auction. They're going to sell it. They don't want anything to be left around. So just sit tight and be patient, and it'll come down. And then sometimes it starts getting bid back up, but if so, that's okay. You probably weren't going to have it at $10 either then, but be patient and you'd be amazed at what kind of deals you can get. So let's take a look at what I got. First thing I bought, these Cant twist clamps. They were called buyer's choice, so when you win the bidding item, you get to come up and pick which one you want at that price, or you can buy many at that price. And this was a whole big box of clamps, and someone else beat me, I think, at $25 or $30. and went up and took a bunch of C-clamps. And hey, if you want C-clamps, that's great, but these were not the bee's knees of C-clamps. And then they left these, and I said, you guys are going to come back to these pretty quickly. And so the auctioneer knew I was interested. And then 2 or 3 items later, he came back, and I only had to bid it up to 20, and walked up and took each one of these for $20. So that's a win. I love these clamps. The next item I bought was the strap clamps, and these came up, and I was surprised no one bid against me on these. In my opinion, you can't have too many of these because I use them on different machines, and sometimes you want to join them together or pair them up, and they're just handy to have. These went for $25. There were 3 sets. I took them all, and then my 2 buddies that were there said, hey, do you want all 3 of those? If not, we'll buy one off you each. And I said, yeah, that's fine. So I gave them each a set at that price. Expanding collets, I'd always wanted these. I had a few projects where they would have been useful, and I had to make my own tooling. Never wanted to pay, I don't remember what they cost, but whatever they cost, new. And I picked these up for $10. That's a win. A little radius gauge set. I have been doing more reverse engineering since I've been in Ohio, and I thought these could be handy to have for some of that type of work. Again, $10. And then this was the part of that big tooling box that I was explaining, except for this 1-inch end mill here. That was different, but the rest of this was all in that box. Again, it went for about $260, but that was double this. So again, we split it up. So for half that, or $130, I got this nice CCMT boring bar, these nice small boring bars. One is a left-handed one. This guy here, which is a nice bar, parting tool, homemade tool, but I actually didn't have one of these and thought it would be handy. And then some really nice inserts and insert holders. So I'm fine with that price, I think. Be curious to see anybody disagreed. I bought this 1-inch end mill for, I think, $40, and it has a whole set of inserts with it. And I bought a bunch of machinist squares, $20. I bought 2 jacks for $5. They're handy. Bought a 4-inch insert face mill for a Bridgeport or R8 for $60. I think that's a good deal. I don't know anything about it, or the rake, or the inserts and all that, so maybe someone's going to tell me that was too much, but I don't think so. It says Lovejoy tool on it. Looked cool anyway, and that's not that that's a good excuse to be spending money on stuff. And let's see here. Last few things. I do not ever own and someone tell me what the correct name is, but a back plunger style test indicator where the plunger's on the back here. And they had this Starrett. It was in great condition. Again, had a chance to look at it before the auction. Had a lot of the tooling and stuff with it right here, and it went for $40. I was very pleased with that. I thought that might go for a lot more. And then the last thing I bought, again, I intend to pick up a Bridgeport here when I can, and it's not a Bridgeport, it's a knockoff, but it is a right angle head for a Bridgeport, and I bought that for $60, which I know the Bridgeport ones go for $200 or more at least, and so this is a knockoff, but I don't know if it's actually really ever even been used. It's in great condition, so I thought that I was more than okay with that. So that was my find, folks. I actually would have bought more, but my buddy who was there buying was trying to tool up to do work. He's busting at the seams, and I felt like I was okay letting him have some wins on stuff that I would have liked to have had, but didn't need and didn't want to be obnoxious, and I was happy to let him have some. He didn't bid against me on this, and he didn't bid against me on a couple other things. I can't remember what. And I was okay with that. Again, no one wins by pounding your chest and just running the price up, if you will. I picked up this 5C collet. I think that went for $5, and that was the one example where I was like, I can't let that go for less than that. I mean, I'll use it for a permanent fixture or something. Who knows? So anyways, that's a wrap for my little video here today, folks. I just thought you would enjoy, and most importantly, aside from trying to share some tips and hope to hear some other tips from folks that are watching, I wanted to just emphasize, if you're looking to get into this, you don't feel like you've got to go buy brand new. And even eBay can be great, but eBay I think is a pretty efficient market, and you've got to ship it, and you don't know the condition and have a chance to see it. So get online, go find out where your state auctions are, local tool auctions, and so forth, and go have some fun, folks. That's it for today, folks. I'll see you this Wednesday for the widget.